Hi guys, Mrs. Karaz here. Today we're looking at Chapter 3, Section 2, the New England Colonies. So, the New England colonies are Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. Those colonies along the northeast coast of the United States. If we're thinking about the geography here, well, the soil is not good. It is very bad for farming, which makes that not a really good way to make money in this area. There is a long coastline, and besides having access to the ocean, there's access to rivers. So this makes it a really ideal area for fishing. And when we think about the climate, there are really long snowy winters with really short, warm summers. The negative to that is that it adds to the fact that farming's not going to happen here, right? There's not a long enough growing season. The good thing about this climate is that it kept colonists from catching the diseases that really flourished in Virginia. We saw with Roanoke and Jamestown that diseases were spreading very rapidly. That's not going to happen in New England. So the Puritans, we've seen many other religious groups throughout our whole history of settling that we've looked at so far. The Puritans were another religious group who wanted to practice Christianity their own way. Instead of just breaking away from the Protestant church, they wanted to make some changes to it. And yes, there is a little bit of irony there that the Protestant church, who is protesting against one church's practices, now has another religion trying to break away from it. It's a little full circle. But anyway, in 1630, John Winthrop led the Puritans to North America, and they established the town of Boston. In Boston, they established an elected assembly and a general court to help people make laws and help maintain order in the colony. The Puritans did not support other religions. They thought being a Puritan was the way to go. And because they didn't support other religions, we could say that they did not practice religious toleration. And if you do practice religious toleration, that means you recognize that different people have a right to different beliefs. Puritans did not think that. They said, we are right. You should believe what we believe. So from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, we have other colonies that crop up. So Roger Williams thought that the Puritans should split from the Protestants completely. We saw on the last slide that there were tweaks that needed to be made. He says, no, it should be a clean split. And Williams also thought it was unfair that colonists took land from Native Americans. He didn't think that was a good or kind idea. So he left Massachusetts and established Providence, Rhode Island. And in Providence, people were allowed to worship whatever religion they wanted. We have Anne Hutchinson, a woman who disagrees with Puritan teachings, just like Roger Williams did, and she establishes some other towns in Rhode Island. We have Thomas Hooker, a minister who disagreed with Puritan leaders and decided to establish Hartford, Connecticut, where he himself could lead. John Wheelwright got in trouble for agreeing with Anne Hutchinson, and so he established Exeter, New Hampshire. And I know that these are just like the very briefest bullet points we could possibly give to these points, but the idea is that we have a bunch of different people feeling that they need to take power into their own hands and feeling that they can handle establishing colonies of their own. And that's what they do, because there's the land and opportunity to do so at this time. Looking at the government side of things, well, Puritans believed that towns and churches should govern themselves. They used town meetings or assemblies of local people to decide how they should deal with local issues and set local taxes. But the only people who were allowed to participate in town meetings were male heads of household. Moving on to industries in New England, we see how people make money here. So some farmers grew crops. There were few crops that could actually grow in New England, and made leather goods and other products. The bigger industry is that fishermen caught cod and other fish that could be shipped to Europe. And really the shipping industry as a whole became really popular. Ships would be built in New England, and in that way they could contribute to their own success in fishing and sending goods abroad. The last slide on the New England colonies focuses on King Philip's War. So in New England, needless to say, the Native American population decreased as more and more colonists come over here. Metacom, who at this time is chief of the Wampanoag, led a war against colonists in order to stop them from expanding their territories and pushing even more Native Americans off their land. The colonists referred to Metacom as King Philip in what can only be described as complete and utter ignorance. Thousands of lives were lost on both sides of the war. Ultimately, Metacom himself was captured and killed, and the colonists were free to do as they chose, shocking no one. That is it for Chapter 3, Section 2. Have a great afternoon, people.